The stars looked different this far out. Captain Ji-won Kim stood on the bridge of the UHSF Indomitable, watching the view screen display the vast emptiness of the Valeron expanse. She had been doing this job for 18 years, but deep space still made her feel small. Out here at the edge of human territory, there were no colonies, no trading posts, no rescue ships. Just her crew and the endless dark. The Indomitable was a Prometheus-class heavy cruiser, one of the pride ships of the United Human Space Force. It was big, heavily armed, and built to handle trouble. The year was 2347, and humanity had been exploring space for over 200 years. They had found plenty of rocks, gas clouds, and dead systems, but no aliens. Not yet. That was about to change. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Tactical Officer Dae-ho Choi. He was young, maybe 25, but he had good instincts. His fingers moved quickly across his console. "There's an energy signature near the collapsed star system." "It's not natural." Ji-won walked over to his station. "Show me." The display lit up with readings. Whatever was out there was giving off heat and electromagnetic waves. Something with power. Something artificial. "Could be a probe," said Lieutenant Commander Minho Park. He was her first officer, a solid man with gray starting to show in his hair. He had fought in the border conflicts years ago and still carried himself like a soldier. Or a ship. "Let's find out," Ji-won said. "Helm, take us in, slow and steady. Weapons, keep everything ready but powered down. If this is first contact, I don't want to look aggressive." "Yes, ma'am," they answered together. Dr. Soo-min Kang practically bounced in her seat. As Chief Science Officer, she had been waiting her entire career for this moment. "This could be it, Captain. This could be actual first contact." "Maybe," Ji-won said. She tried to keep her voice calm, but her heart was beating faster. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." The Indomitable moved through space, closing the distance. After 20 minutes, Dae-ho spoke again. "Visual contact." Putting it on screen. The view screen changed. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. It was a ship. But not like any ship humans had ever built. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Indomitable. Its hull was dark red and black with sharp angles and strange symbols glowing along its surface. It looked dangerous. It looked alien. "My God," Soo-min whispered. "They've seen us," Dae-ho said. "The alien ship is turning to face us." Ji-won took a deep breath. "Open a channel. All frequencies. Let's try to talk to them." "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Ji-won Kim of the United Human Space Force vessel Indomitable. We come in peace. We mean you no harm." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the view screen changed again. A face appeared. It was reptilian with scales that shifted colors in the light. The creature was tall, maybe 8 feet, with yellow eyes that looked cold and calculating. Patterns on its skin glowed faintly. "I am Commander Thexar of the Vorkith Collective," the alien said. Its voice was deep and had a strange accent, but the words were in clear English. The ship's computer must have been translating. "Your vessel has entered space claimed by the Vorkith Empire. State your purpose." Ji-won kept her face neutral. "We were not aware this space was claimed. We are explorers from Earth on a peaceful mission. We would be happy to discuss territorial boundaries and establish diplomatic relations." Thexar's eyes narrowed. "Earth, we have no records of your species. You are unknown to us." "As you are to us," Ji-won said. "Perhaps this is an opportunity for both our peoples to learn." The alien commander seemed to consider this. Then, without warning, he said, "We will scan your vessel to verify your intentions." "Wait," Ji-won said quickly. "We would prefer to exchange information voluntarily. An unauthorized scan could be seen as hostile." Thexar made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your preferences are irrelevant. The scan will proceed." The screen went dark. "Captain, they're scanning us," Chief Engineer Heejin Lee said from her station. "It's a deep penetration scan. They're going through our hull, our systems, everything." Minho's hand moved toward the weapons console. "Captain, this is an act of aggression. We should respond." "Hold," Ji-won said firmly. "They're bigger than us and we don't know their capabilities. Let them scan." "We have nothing to hide." But inside she was angry. In human military protocol, scanning another ship without permission was like pointing a gun at someone's head. It was a serious insult. The scan lasted for 3 minutes. On the alien ship, the Sovereign's Fang, technicians were analyzing the data as it came in. One technician looked at his screen and went very still. "Commander Thexar," he said slowly, You need to see this. What is it? Thexar asked, walking over. Sir, this vessel. It's not an exploration ship. It's a warship. And it's armed with weapons I've never seen before. Thexar looked at the data. His scales changed color, shifting to a darker shade. Show me details. The technician brought up schematics. They have kinetic railguns that can fire projectiles at 15% of light speed. Plasma weapons with temperatures exceeding 6 million degrees. Nuclear missiles with yields that would violate every galactic weapons convention. And sir, they have something else. An antimatter warhead. Another technician spoke up, his voice shaking. Commander, I've analyzed their shield generators. They're not designed to deflect weapons. They're designed to absorb them. This ship is built to take damage and keep fighting. Thexar stared at the screens. What kind of species builds ships like this? There's more, sir, the first technician said. I accessed their database. Their homeworld, Earth, it's a Class 12 death world. Extreme weather, active tectonics, dangerous predators. They evolved as persistence hunters. And sir, their history. They've been fighting wars against themselves for thousands of years. The weapons on this ship are considered moderate by their standards. The bridge of the Sovereign's Fang went quiet. Everyone was looking at their commander. Thexar's claws tapped against his command chair. He had fought in many battles for the Vorkith Empire. He had conquered weaker species and destroyed rebel fleets. But he had never encountered anything like this. These humans were unknown, unexplored, and apparently heavily armed with weapons that would be banned by every civilized species in the galaxy. And he had just insulted them. Send a priority message to High Command, Thexar ordered. Full data package. Mark it urgent. Then prepare to apologize to the human captain. Sir? The officer sounded surprised. You heard me. We made a mistake. A serious one. Back on the Indomitable, Jiwan waited. The scan had finished, but the alien ship hadn't responded. She didn't like it, Captain, Deho said. They're moving. Backing off. And they're sending another transmission. Put it through. Commander Thexar appeared on screen again. But he looked different now. His posture was more respectful. His eyes were cautious. Captain Kim, he said. I must apologize. The scan of your vessel was conducted without proper diplomatic protocol. This was an error on my part. The Vorkith Collective wishes to establish peaceful relations with humanity. Jiwan frowned. Something had changed. Something about that scan had made the alien commander nervous. She glanced at Minho. He looked as confused as she felt. Suman was watching with fascination. Hyejin was checking the ship's systems, making sure the scan hadn't damaged anything. Apology accepted, Commander Thexar, Jiwan said carefully. We are also interested in peaceful relations. Perhaps we could arrange an information exchange. Yes, Thexar said quickly. That would be acceptable. We will transmit basic information about the Vorkith Collective and the galactic community. We look forward to learning more about humanity. The transmission ended. Well, Minho said. That was strange. What do you think scared him? Jiwan looked at the alien ship on the view screen, maintaining its distance. I don't know. But we just made first contact with an alien species, and they seem more afraid of us than we are of them. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. She was about to find out just how much their ship had impressed the aliens, and she was about to learn that humanity's reputation in the galaxy was going to be very different from what anyone expected. The data from the Sovereign's Fang traveled through space at faster than light speed, carried by quantum communication arrays. Within hours, it reached Vorkith Prime, the capital world of the Vorkith Collective. In a secure intelligence facility buried deep underground, analysts gathered around holographic displays showing every detail the scan had captured. Senior analyst Corvin stood before the main display, his scales pale with shock. He had spent 40 years analyzing potential threats to the Vorkith Empire. He had never seen anything like this. Pull up the weapons inventory again, he ordered. The hologram changed, showing a list that kept scrolling. Railguns, plasma lances, nuclear missiles, kinetic interceptors, point defense systems, electronic warfare arrays, and buried in the emergency armory, an antimatter warhead. This single ship carries more firepower than our entire border fleet, Corvin said quietly, and according to their database they have hundreds of these vessels. A junior analyst spoke up. Sir, I've been reading their historical files, the ones about their wars. And, sir, they used atomic weapons on themselves. During something called World War II, they dropped bombs on their own planet that killed hundreds of thousands of their people. And that was centuries ago when they barely had spaceflight. The room went silent. Every species in the known galaxy had weapons of mass destruction. But using them on your own kind, on your own world, that was unthinkable. There's more, the junior analyst continued. They fought a Cold War for decades where they pointed thousands of nuclear weapons at each other. They came close to destroying their entire civilization multiple times, but they survived. They learned. And then they went to space. Corvin's claws tapped nervously. What about their homeworld? What's the classification? Class 12 Death World, sir. Gravity slightly higher than standard. Extreme weather patterns. Active volcanic systems. Regular earthquakes. Dangerous predators, disease, and the humans evolved there. They're apex predators themselves. Persistence hunters. They would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. By the ancestors, someone whispered. Corvin pulled up another file. Their military doctrine. Look at this. Every human warship is designed to operate independently if cut off from support. Every ship has enough supplies for extended campaigns. Every ship is built with the assumption it will face superior numbers. He zoomed in on the shield specifications. Their defensive systems don't deflect incoming fire like ours do. They absorb it. They're built to take hits and keep fighting. They have backup systems for their backup systems. If you destroy one weapons array, 3 more are ready to fire. This is insane, another analyst said. Who builds ships like this? A species that expects to fight wars, Corvin answered. A species that has been fighting since before they discovered fire. Look at their history. They've never had peace. Not really. Even now, with space travel, they maintain massive military forces. He brought up images from the human database. Pictures of ancient battles with swords and shields. Medieval castles built for war. Trenches from World War I. Tanks and aircraft from World War II. Modern weapon systems that led to space warfare. Every generation, they improved their weapons. Every war taught them new ways to kill. And they never stopped. Now they have ships that can crack planets. We need to inform the Supreme Council, Corvin decided. This is beyond our authority. 2 hours later, the Vorkith Supreme Council assembled in their grand chamber. 12 members representing the most powerful families in the Empire sat in a circle around a holographic display. Supreme Admiral Corthan stood in the center, presenting the analysis. The humans are a Class 5 threat, he said bluntly. The highest classification. They possess weapons that violate at least 15 galactic conventions. They come from a death world. They have a history of extreme violence, and they are expanding into space. Council member Zirith spoke first. She was old, even by Vorketh standards, and her scales had faded to gray. Class 5? That's the same rating as the Kavesh Dominion. Are you certain? I am certain, Corthan replied. The Kavesh are brutal and expansionist, but they follow galactic norms for warfare. They use approved weapons and tactics. The humans do not. They use kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds. They use nuclear explosives as standard munitions. They have antimatter weapons, and based on their history, they would not hesitate to use any of it. What do we know about their territory? Another council member asked. Limited, Corthan admitted. They control approximately 200 star systems on the far side of the galaxy. Their capital is Earth in a system they call Sol. They have a unified government called the United Human Space Force, and they are actively exploring and colonizing new worlds. How many ships do they have? Unknown exactly. But the Indomitable is one of 50 similar vessels in a single sector fleet. They have multiple sector fleets. Conservative estimates put their total military strength at over 500 warships of various classes. And they're building more. The council chamber filled with worried murmurs. 500 warships, each potentially as dangerous as the Indomitable. The Vorkith Empire had twice that number. But now the council members were wondering if numbers mattered against weapons like these. What are our options? Zirith asked. Corthan looked grim. We could attempt to contain them. Establish a treaty that limits their expansion. We could try to intimidate them with our own military strength. Or we could seek an alliance. What about military action? A younger council member asked. A preemptive strike before they become too powerful? That would be suicide, Corthan said flatly. Even if we won, the casualties would be catastrophic. The humans are defensive fighters. Every battle would be brutal. Every planet would be contested. And if we somehow managed to push them back to Earth, they would fight to the death. A cornered predator is the most dangerous kind. He paused, then added, and there's another consideration. The humans have antimatter weapons. If they believed they were facing extinction, what would stop them from using planet killers? They've done it before to themselves. The room went very quiet. Sheereth spoke slowly. Then we have no choice. We must pursue peaceful relations. We must treat them with respect and caution, and we must never ever give them reason to view us as enemies. The vote was unanimous. The Vorketh Collective would classify humanity as a Class 5 threat and pursue diplomatic relations. All Vorketh vessels would be ordered to avoid human space unless absolutely necessary. Any encounter with human ships would be handled with extreme diplomatic care. There's one more thing, Corthan said. Commander Thexar performed an unauthorized scan of the human vessel. This is technically an act of aggression under our own laws. The humans were very polite about it, but they clearly understood it as hostile. What do you recommend? Sheereth asked. Order him to apologize formally. Offer reparations. Make it clear the Vorketh Collective values peaceful relations with humanity. And pray they accept. Make it so, Sheereth ordered. As the council dispersed, Corthan remained behind, studying the holographic image of the Indomitable. It was a beautiful ship in its own way, sleek and deadly, built by a species that understood war at a fundamental level. He thought about the human captain, Ji-Won Kim. She had been polite and diplomatic even after being scanned without permission. But Corthan had read her service record from the database. She had fought in conflicts. She had commanded ships in battle. She knew how to kill. The humans were dangerous, yes, but maybe they could also be valuable allies. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Having friends with big guns was never a bad thing. He just hoped the other galactic powers would be smart enough to see it the same way. Because if someone decided to test humanity's strength, the results would be catastrophic. And deep down, Corthan suspected it was only a matter of time before someone made that mistake. The next few hours were strange for Captain Ji-Won Kim and her crew. Commander Thexar returned to the communication channel multiple times, each time more polite than before. He offered to share star charts of the region. He provided information about other species in the galaxy. He even invited them to visit a Vorketh trade station. Ji-Won accepted all of it with professional courtesy, but inside she was confused. Something had changed after that scan. The aliens had gone from arrogant to respectful in minutes. It didn't make sense, Captain. May I speak freely? Minho asked. They were in her ready room away from the bridge. Always, she replied. Something's wrong. That alien commander is acting scared. What did they see in that scan that changed everything? Ji-Won leaned back in her chair. I've been thinking about that. Maybe they saw our weapon systems, the railguns, the missiles. Maybe they realized we're not just explorers, but we're a standard Prometheus-class cruiser. Nothing special. If they're this worried about one ship, what happens when they learn about the rest of our fleet? I don't know, Ji-Won admitted. But I think we need to be very careful with what information we share. First contact is always delicate. A knock on the door interrupted them. Come in, Ji-Won called. Dr. Suman Kang entered carrying a data pad. Her eyes were bright with excitement. Captain, I've been analyzing the information the Vorketh sent us. There are dozens of spacefaring species in this region of the galaxy. Trade networks, diplomatic alliances, even a federation of peaceful worlds. This is incredible. That's good news, Ji-Won said. What else? Well, there's something interesting. The Vorketh have rules for warfare. Conventions, they call them. Lists of weapons and tactics that are banned in galactic conflicts. Minho frowned. What kind of weapons? Suman read from her pad. Kinetic weapons above certain velocities. High-yield nuclear explosives. Antimatter weapons. Certain types of biological and chemical agents. Planet-killing weapons. Basically anything designed to cause mass casualties or permanent damage. Ji-Won and Minho looked at each other. The Indomitable carried most of those weapons. Oh no, Ji-Won said quietly. What? Suman asked, confused. They scanned our ship, Minho explained. They saw our weapons. Our railguns fire projectiles at 15% light speed. We carry nuclear missiles with yields in the megaton range. And we have an experimental antimatter warhead in the emergency armory. Suman's expression changed from excitement to concern. So when they scanned us, they found out we're carrying weapons that violate their warfare conventions. That's why Commander Thexar got so polite so fast, Ji-Won realized. He thinks we're dangerous. We are dangerous, Minho pointed out. That's the point of a warship. But to them, we're not just dangerous. We're carrying war crimes. At least that's how they probably see it. The three of them sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Then Suman spoke up. Should we tell them our weapons are standard? That every human warship carries similar armaments? No, Jiwan decided. Not yet. Let's see how this plays out first. But the decision was taken out of her hands an hour later. Commander Thexar requested another meeting. This time he wanted to discuss a joint training exercise. A way for both species to learn about each other's capabilities. Jiwan agreed. It seemed harmless enough. The exercise was simple. Both ships would engage a series of automated target drones. It would demonstrate their weapons and tactics in a controlled environment. The Vorketh ship went first. 12 drones appeared in space, programmed to dodge and weave. The Sovereign's Fang engaged them with energy beams, carefully targeting each drone and disabling it. The alien weapons were precise and efficient. It took them 12 minutes to clear all targets. Impressive, Minho commented. Very accurate. Now it's our turn, Jiwan said. Minho, you have the weapons console. Show them what we can do. Minho grinned. He had been waiting for this. With pleasure, Captain. 12 new drones materialized. Minho's fingers flew across his console. All weapons systems, target lock acquired, fire. The Indomitable opened fire with everything. Railguns hammered out projectiles that crossed the distance in seconds. Plasma lances burned through space. Missiles streaked toward their targets. The point defense systems tracked and eliminated any drone that tried to evade. It was over in 47 seconds. All 12 drones were destroyed, not disabled. Destroyed. Pieces of them drifted through space. The bridge crew cheered. Hijin called up from engineering. Nice shooting. Power systems held perfectly. But Jiwan was watching the communication channel. Commander Thexar's face had gone very still. The aliens on his bridge looked shocked. Captain, Deho said quietly. I think we may have overdone it. Jiwan felt her stomach sink. She had just demonstrated overwhelming firepower to aliens who thought their weapons were excessive. This was not good for diplomacy. Commander Thexar, she said carefully. I hope that demonstration was satisfactory. The alien took a moment to respond. When he did, his voice was controlled, but Jiwan could hear the tension. Very impressive, Captain Kim. Your weapons are quite effective. Thank you. The Indomitable is well equipped for its mission. May I ask, Thexar said slowly, is this level of armament typical for human vessels? Jiwan hesitated. She could lie, but that would damage trust. She could tell the truth, but that might scare them even more. She decided on honesty. The Indomitable is a Prometheus-class heavy cruiser, she explained. We have 50 similar ships in this sector fleet alone. There are multiple sector fleets throughout human space. She watched Thexar's expression change. His scale shifted to a paler color. Behind him, she could see other Vorketh crew members exchanging worried looks. I see, Thexar said. Thank you for your honesty, Captain. If you will excuse me, I need to report these results to my superiors. The communication ended abruptly. Well, Minho said, I think we just made first contact a lot more complicated. Suman was already pulling up the information the Vorketh had shared. According to this data, most alien species have fleets measured in the hundreds. Maybe 1,000 ships at most. If they think we have multiple sector fleets, each with 50 heavy cruisers, they're going to assume we have thousands of warships. We do have thousands of warships, Minho pointed out. Yes, but now they know it, and they think each one is carrying weapons that violate their conventions. We just went from unknown explorers to a potential galactic superpower in the span of one conversation. Jiwan rubbed her temples. She had a headache forming. All right. Here's what we do. We continue being polite and diplomatic. We don't threaten anyone. We make it clear that humanity wants peaceful relations. But we don't apologize for our weapons or our strength. Agreed, Minho said. I'll send a report back to Earth, Jiwan continued. They need to know about this. First contact protocol is going to get a lot more complicated now. She looked at the view screen, where the Sovereign's Fang maintained its distance. The alien ship was enormous and impressive. But Jiwan knew that in a fight, the Indomitable would win. Human ships were built for war. That was their purpose. That was their strength. She just hoped the galaxy understood that strength didn't mean aggression. Humanity didn't want to conquer or destroy. They wanted to explore and survive. But Jiwan had a feeling that explaining that to dozens of alien species was going to be harder than any battle she had ever fought. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within 3 days of the training exercise, 17 different civilizations had received reports about the human warship and its capabilities. The information spread through diplomatic channels, intelligence networks, and even civilian news services. On the peaceful world of Thaliron, the Federation Council held an emergency session. The Thaliron Federation was an alliance of 12 species dedicated to peaceful exploration and trade. They had no significant military and relied on diplomacy to resolve conflicts. Ambassador Vila, a tall insectoid with delicate wings, addressed the council. The humans are unlike anything we have encountered. They are heavily armed from a death world and expanding rapidly. We must reach out to them before others do. Are they dangerous? Another council member asked. Potentially, yes. But the Vorketh report indicates they are diplomatic and reasonable. They responded to provocation with restraint. I believe we should offer them a non-aggression pact and invite them to join our trade networks. The council agreed unanimously. An ambassador would be sent to human space immediately. But not everyone in the galaxy reacted with diplomacy. In the dark regions of space controlled by the Kavesh Dominion, Warmaster Krell studied the reports with growing anger. The Kavesh were predators both biologically and culturally. They expanded through conquest, subjugating weaker species and taking what they wanted. The humans were a threat to that way of life. They must be tested, Krell decided, before they grow too strong, before they establish alliances. We will send a strike force to their border. We will see if these humans are truly as dangerous as the Vorketh claim. His subordinates agreed eagerly. The Kavesh loved a good fight, and proving that the humans were weak would establish Kavesh dominance in this region of space. 3 Kavesh warships were dispatched. They were large, powerful vessels, each carrying hundreds of warriors eager for combat. The mission was simple. Find a human ship, demand its surrender, show the galaxy that humanity could be intimidated. Back on the Indomitable, life had returned to normal. Sort of. Captain Ji-Won Kim had received several messages from Earth's diplomatic corps, all asking for detailed reports. She had also received a commendation for handling first contact successfully, which felt ironic, given how nervous she had made the aliens. Commander Thexar had stayed in contact, sharing more information about galactic politics and culture. He had been helpful and friendly, though Ji-Won noticed he was always very careful about how he phrased things. Like he was afraid of accidentally insulting her. Captain, I need to share something with you, Thexar said during one of their regular communications. This is not official Vorketh policy, but I feel you should know. Go ahead, Commander. There are species in the galaxy who may see humanity as a threat. The Kavesh Dominion in particular. They are aggressive and expansionist. They might decide to test your strength before you become too established. Ji-Won leaned forward. Are you saying they might attack us? It's possible. The Kavesh respect strength above all else. They might want to prove that humans are not as dangerous as the reports suggest. I appreciate the warning, Commander. We'll be ready. After the communication ended, Ji-Won called her senior officers to the briefing room. Minho, Hyejin, Daeho, and Suman gathered around the table. We might have a problem, Ji-Won began. She explained Thexar's warning about the Kavesh. Minho's expression turned serious. If they come, it won't be a diplomatic visit. The Kavesh will want to fight. Can we take them? Suman asked. Depends on how many ships they send, Minho said. One-on-one, we can handle any ship in the galaxy. But if they come with superior numbers, it could get difficult. Our shields are at full capacity, Hyejin reported. All weapon systems are operational. I've been running maintenance cycles since the training exercise. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Good, Ji-Won said. Daeho, I want continuous sensor sweeps. If anything comes into the system, I want to know immediately. Yes, ma'am. Captain, Suman said hesitantly. Should we call for backup? There are other human ships in nearby sectors. Ji-Won considered it. Not yet. If we call for help every time we hear a warning, we'll look weak. Besides, it would take days for reinforcements to arrive. We'll handle this ourselves if it comes to that. 2 days later, Daeho's sensors picked up something. Captain, I have multiple contacts entering the system. 3 ships, heavy class. They're not broadcasting identification signals. Battle stations, Ji-Won ordered. The alarm sounded throughout the ship. Get me a visual. The view screen showed 3 massive ships emerging from hyperspace. They were ugly vessels, all angles and armor plating. Weapons bristled from their hulls. Each ship was larger than the Indomitable. Kavesh design, Daeho confirmed. Warships, and they're moving into attack formation. Open a channel, Ji-won said. A face appeared on the screen. It was brutish with thick scales and sharp teeth. The creature looked like it was built for violence. I am War Leader Vrax of the Kavesh Dominion, the alien growled. You are in Kavesh space. Surrender your vessel or be destroyed. Ji-won kept her voice calm. This is Captain Ji-won Kim of the UHSF Indomitable. We are on a peaceful mission. We have no quarrel with the Kavesh. Please stand down, Vrax laughed. You are weak. Your ship is small. You will surrender now or we will take your ship as a prize. This is your only warning. Ji-won looked at Minho. He nodded once. She turned back to the screen. War Leader Vrax, I am giving you one chance to withdraw. If you attack this vessel, you will regret it. Vrax's expression turned ugly. You dare threaten us? You will learn the price of Kavesh anger. The transmission cut off. The 3 Kavesh ships began moving forward, surrounding the Indomitable. They're charging weapons, Daeho reported. Ji-won sat back in her command chair. She had given them a chance. They had refused it. Now they would learn why humanity built ships like the Indomitable. Shields to maximum. All weapons free. Minho, you have tactical control. Show them what happens when they threaten a human warship. Minho's smile was cold. With pleasure, Captain. All stations prepare to engage. Let's teach these aliens why they should have stayed home. The Kavesh were about to make a very serious mistake, and the entire galaxy was watching. Commander Thexar had positioned the Sovereign's Fang at a safe distance, recording everything. He had warned his superiors this might happen. Now he would have proof of human combat capabilities. Part of him felt sorry for the Kavesh, only part of him. The first Kavesh ship fired its main weapons. Energy beams lanced through space toward the Indomitable. They were powerful weapons, designed to crack the shields of any normal vessel. The Indomitable's shields absorbed the impact without even flickering. Shields holding at 98%, Hyejin reported from engineering. Those weapons barely scratched us. Return fire, Minho ordered. The Indomitable opened fire with everything. Railguns thundered, sending solid projectiles across the distance at terrifying speed. Plasma lances burned through space, superheated energy that could melt through armor like butter. Missiles streaked from their tubes, guided by sophisticated targeting systems. The first Kavesh ship's shields collapsed in seconds. Railgun rounds punched through its armor, tearing through internal systems. Plasma fire melted whole sections of its hull. Missiles found weak points and detonated inside the ship. It took 90 seconds from the first shot to disable the Kavesh warship completely. The massive vessel went dark, drifting in space with atmosphere venting from dozens of holes. Target 1 neutralized, Daeho reported. No life support detected. They're dead in space. The second Kavesh ship tried to retreat. Its engines flared as it attempted to turn away and charge its hyperdrive. Not so fast, Minho said. Target their engines. Disable them. More railgun rounds tore through space. They struck the fleeing ship's engines with surgical precision. Explosions bloomed along its stern. The Kavesh ship's acceleration dropped to nothing. Target 2 disabled, Daeho confirmed. The third Kavesh ship, commanded by War Leader Vrax, was now alone. Vrax stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 2 of his ships destroyed or disabled in less than 3 minutes. The human vessel was barely damaged. All weapons, concentrate fire on the human ship, he roared. Call for reinforcements. His ship unleashed everything it had. Energy weapons, missiles, kinetic rounds, everything in its arsenal. The Indomitable's point defense systems came alive. Automated turrets tracked and destroyed incoming missiles. The shields absorbed energy weapons with barely a strain. The few kinetic rounds that got through were stopped by the ship's thick armor. Shields at 85%, Hyejin reported. No damage to primary systems. Ji-won watched the tactical display. More Kavesh ships were on their way, responding to Vrax's distress call. They would arrive in minutes. She had to end this quickly and send a message that would stop any future attacks. Minho, prepare the antimatter warhead. We're going to demonstrate why nobody threatens human ships. Minho looked at her in surprise. Captain, are you sure? That weapon. I'm not going to hit them with it, Ji-won said. I'm going to detonate it far enough away that it won't hurt anyone. But close enough that everyone will see what we have and understand what it means. Understanding dawned on Minho's face. A demonstration? Show them the stick so they'll listen to reason. Exactly. Daeho, calculate a safe detonation point. Far enough from all ships, but close enough to be visible on every sensor in the system. Working on it, Captain. The Indomitable launched the antimatter warhead. It was a small missile, no bigger than a standard torpedo, but its payload was devastating. A matter-antimatter reaction, the most powerful explosion possible short of a star going supernova. The missile flew to its detonation point, several million kilometers from any vessel. Then it exploded. Space itself seemed to tear apart. A flash of light brighter than any star erupted in the void. Energy spread outward in a perfect sphere, releasing more power than 100 nuclear bombs. The blast was visible for light years in every direction. Every ship in the system registered the detonation. Every sensor screamed warnings. Every alien who saw it understood immediately what they were looking at. A planet killer. A weapon that could crack worlds. On the Kavesh flagship, war leader Vrax stood frozen. His tactical officer was shouting something about energy readings and impossible yield numbers. But Vrax wasn't listening. He was staring at the expanding ball of destruction and understanding, finally, what the Vorketh reports had meant. The humans weren't just armed. They were armed with weapons that civilized species had banned centuries ago. And they were willing to use them. "Retreat," Vrax ordered, his voice hoarse. "Full retreat. Send a message to all Kavesh forces. Do not engage human vessels. Do not provoke them. We have made a terrible mistake." His ship turned and fled. The incoming Kavesh reinforcements, seeing the antimatter detonation on their sensors, also retreated without ever entering weapons range. On the Sovereign's Fang, Commander Thexar watched the entire battle. He had recorded everything. The swift destruction of Kavesh ships, the minimal damage to the human vessel, and most importantly, the antimatter demonstration. "Send this recording to High Command immediately," he ordered. "Priority 1. And add my recommendation. The entire galactic community needs to see this. They need to understand what humanity is capable of." His communications officer hesitated. "Sir, if we show this to everyone, it will cause panic. Multiple species will see the humans as an existential threat." "Good," Thexar said. "Fear will keep them from making the same mistake the Kavesh just made. Better that everyone is afraid and cautious than to have multiple species trying to test human strength." Captain Kim showed remarkable restraint today. She could have destroyed all 3 Kavesh ships. She could have detonated that weapon right on top of them. But she didn't. She gave them a warning instead. We need to make sure everyone understands both parts of that message. Within hours, the recording spread through the galaxy. Diplomatic channels, intelligence networks, news services, everyone received copies. The images of human weapons tearing through Kavesh ships. The antimatter detonation. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be threatened. Over the next 2 weeks, something unprecedented happened. 17 different alien civilizations sent diplomatic envoys to Earth. The Thaliron Federation offered a mutual defense treaty. The Vorketh Collective proposed a trade alliance. Even species that had been isolated for centuries reached out, wanting to establish peaceful relations. The Kavesh Dominion sent a formal apology and declared that the attack had been unauthorized. Everyone knew it was a lie to save face, but humanity accepted it graciously. There was no need to humiliate them further. On the Indomitable, Captain Ji-won Kim prepared to return to Earth. She had been ordered home for debriefing and probably for some kind of ceremony. First contact had gone very differently than anyone expected. Her senior officers gathered on the bridge for the jump home. "So," Suman said, "we're famous now. Galactic News is calling us the Sleeping Titans, the species that everyone underestimated." "I can think of worse reputations," Minho said. "Better to be feared and respected than weak and ignored." "I just hope this doesn't start an arms race," Heejin said. "Now that everyone knows what we have, they might start building bigger weapons." "Let them try," Deho said confidently. "We've been building weapons since we lived in caves. We're good at it." Jiwan listened to her crew with a small smile. They were right, all of them. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as weak newcomers, but as a force to be reckoned with. It had happened by accident, but maybe that was for the best. "Captain," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from Commander Thexar." "Put it through." The Vorketh commander's face appeared on screen. He looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Kim, I wanted to congratulate you on your handling of the Kavesh situation. Your restraint was admirable." "Thank you, Commander. We had no desire for unnecessary bloodshed." "I know. That's why my government is proposing a formal alliance between our peoples. We could learn much from each other. And frankly, I would rather have humanity as a friend than as an enemy. Jiwon nodded. I'll pass that recommendation to my superiors. I think they'll be receptive. Good, one more thing, Captain. The galactic news networks are calling your species by a new name, the Sleeping Titans, but I prefer to think of you as the necessary warriors. You have the strength to destroy but the wisdom to show mercy. The galaxy needs more of that. That's very kind of you to say, Commander. It's the truth. Safe travels, Captain Kim. I look forward to working with you in the future. The transmission ended. Jiwon looked around her bridge at her crew. They had made history today. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was strong but not cruel, powerful but not aggressive. All right, she said. Let's go home. I'm sure Earth has a lot of questions for us. Course plotted, Captain, the helm officer reported. Engage. The Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Veilron expanse behind. But the impact of what happened there would echo through the galaxy for generations. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and everyone now knew the simple truth that Commander Thexar had discovered through that first scan. You don't threaten a species that builds their ships to fight gods. You don't provoke a species that learned to survive on a death world. You don't attack a species that invented planet-killing weapons and then had the wisdom not to use them. You respect them. You work with them. And you hope they never have a reason to show you the full extent of their power, because the Kavesh had learned the hard way what the Vorkith suspected from the beginning. Humanity was not a threat to be eliminated. They were a force of nature to be respected, and the galaxy would never make the mistake of underestimating them again.